Do you view Vice President JD Vance as your successor?
Okay, so that might seem like a layup, right? I mean, that's the President of the United States getting asked a question about his vice president, the man he chose himself to be his vice president. But you should never expect anything with Donald Trump. You should never predict anything because he's a little bit unpredictable. So let's hear how he answered that question from Bret Baier.
No, but he's very capable. I mean, I don't think that I think you have a lot of very capable people. So far, I think he's doing a fantastic job. It's too early, we're just starting.
But by the time you get to the midterms, he's going to be looking for an endorsement.
Yeah, a lot of people have said that this has been the greatest opening, almost 3 weeks, in the history of the presidency.
It's definitely been the fastest and the most stuff happening.
We've done so much, so fast.
So it's interesting that he answered that way. It's also fascinating that he answered that way considering how Trump's base feels about JD Vance. They actually really like JD Vance. He is very popular.
I got news from the front.
Tell me.
I talked to some right-wingers who are not big fans of JD Vance.
Interesting.
Yeah, they're
Why?
they didn't get into too much detail, but just a little bit of like, I don't know that he's really one of us. He's kind of been. You remember he went to Yale and he got funded by Silicon Valley donors like Peter Thiel, et cetera. So some of them know that. And so like, is he really a populist? Whereas when I mentioned, like we got a poll on who do you think is actually gonna be Trump's successor, I'd probably vote someone else. It's in the live chat. Because whenever I mention Josh Hawley, they're like, yes, Hawley, yes. I mentioned JD Vance, they're like, jury's out. Interesting.
Hawley has been doing some good things in the Senate pertaining to credit card interest rate caps and things like that. He and Bernie Sanders worked together on a bipartisan bill. I don't think that bill is gonna pass with this Congress, but still, I mean, it is signaling to the American people that Hawley is looking out for the economic interests of Americans to some extent. But let's actually get to some of these polls, okay? So look, the good news for JD Vance is that he is actually popular with the Republican base based on some of the polling. So one recent poll found that 28% of Republican voters chose JD Vance as the successor to Donald Trump or would prefer him to be the successor to Donald Trump. Coming in second place at 21%, Don Jr., which is concerning. But look at poor Ronnie. Ronnie D. Only 8% of Republican voters chose Ronnie D.
Taking the D.
Some other candidates like Nikki Haley, Vivek Ramaswamy, and Tim Scott only got a small number of votes. And then 24% of respondents said that they were undecided.
Yeah, I agree with Trump. And I think that it was a bold thing that he said. And I'm gonna give you a little bit of context too, against Trump in a second. But why? Why does he have to say that this vice president's definitely going to be a successor? That makes sense, I get it. I would have added more detail to soften the blow. I would have said, it's way too early for that. And it's not my place to tell the voters who they should pick among so many great options, right? That's the political and look, diplomatic way of saying it, and I think the right way to say it. Trump, of course, is funny. He's like, no. A little less diplomatic for JD Vance, but interesting nonetheless. Now, of course, the criticism of Trump, when he wanted his last vice president murdered, he probably doesn't have a great affinity or attachment to his vice presidents. So his view of his partner is not quite the same as other past presidents.
True, and that is the antithesis of how Joe Biden treated his vice president.
Well, I mean, look, there's so many parallels. Real quick side note on this between Joe Biden and Donald Trump, because Donald Trump, massive narcissist. On the other hand, Joe Biden thinking that Donald Trump is a Nazi and is a threat to democracy, but won't step aside even though he knows he has dementia. I could argue that he's a bigger narcissist.
He's right. Look, so I don't want to get into a long discussion about how much I despise Joe Biden, but I despise Joe Biden. Okay, very selfish, egotistical, narcissistic, and played with everyone's lives. I mean, disgusting.
Absolutely. And then on this issue, So Trump's worse, but Biden threw Kamala Harris under the bus. She's in charge of the border, kind of, whatever that means.
Borders are.
Yeah, borders are, and I'm not giving her any or whether he actually said that or not, but everybody knew he put her in charge of don't come anymore, right? And then he knew that he wasn't giving her any power and they were gonna still come.
Yeah.
Like he threw her under the bus on purpose. And then, by the way, if you guys don't know this, Obama and Pelosi didn't want to anoint Kamala Harris because they knew that she had issues. And Biden screwed them over by half an hour after he dropped out. Going, oh yeah, I think it should be Kamala. Because he thought Kamala would lose. So he can go, ha ha. He's such a terrible guy. On the other hand, Trump, when his chief of staff told him, they're chanting, hang Mike Pence, hang Mike Pence. Trump said he deserves it. Oh, you can't beat that. That's as bad as it gets. Thanks for watching the video, guys. We also love it if you hit the join button below because that makes you a member, and members allow us to be independent, honest. We can be as progressive as we want, no corporate media influence, and that's all because of you guys. We love doing the show with our members. Hit the join button, become one of the Young Turks.